how do you find your passion business-wise? And the best answer I have for that is, sorry, to make sure I'm not on mute. Best answer I have for that is, think of it this way: if you had 1 month off and you could do anything that you wanted to do with your time, but you could not travel, what would you do? And think about it that way, because I think that's the best way to think about what your passion is. Because at the end of the day, if you get up in the morning and you tell yourself you're going to work, then, with all due respect, you're doing it wrong. You gotta do what you're most passionate about. Otherwise, what's the point? Keep searching, you'll find it. Okay, so I got a question here from Dan. Thanks, Dan. Good morning. Dan says, and Dan, type right there in the message field, so please type something there. There we go. I got a bunch coming up. Thanks. All right, so Dan is asking this. He said, I purchased a few of your courses. In which order do you recommend taking them? It all depends. If you are looking to get a job right away, then my course called the Complete Job Course is probably the best way to go. And I recommend finishing the whole thing in order. And I guarantee you that you will get the job of your dreams if you take that course. And I know it says there's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee, but I'm actually offering anybody on this webcast here a lifetime guarantee on it, because I'm so confident that course will help you get a job. But Dan, if you're just actually to start to learn about business. Hold on a second. Yeah, Christine, send them back, please. Sorry about that. That was Comcast coming to fix our cable, and they wanted to disconnect it right now, which is bad for the internet. Sorry. But if you're just starting to learn about business, what I recommend doing is starting with an entire MBA in one course. That's my one of my earlier courses. And it just gives you kind of a general high-level overview of business, and then drill down after that and take some of the more advanced finance courses that I have, like Introduction to Finance or the Complete Financial Analyst course. Or if you want to learn how to present, then take the Complete Presentation course. Now, the biggest problem with business school is that business schools don't teach you the most practical skills in life, like how to get a job, how to present, how to manage your personal finances, and how to network. And those are the 4 most important things, and how to sell as well. So I pride myself on creating courses that I humbly think kind of fill those gaps. Okay, thanks, Dan. If you have a follow-up, let me know, please. All right, the next question comes from Jaden. Good morning, Jaden. I have an interview later today with a financial company. How should I approach it? I'm trying to become a financial solutions advisor. Okay, and Jane, I don't know how much time you have to prepare for your interview, but I recommend actually filling in one-page templates of your best financial ideas, stock ideas, and then giving them as exhibits with your name on the bottom and your phone number, as well as your email address. Give them to the people or person you're interviewing with. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll provide a template for you, Jaden, in the description field here right after this live cast is done. You can come back and click on it, and I'll provide you with that. And if you have a follow-up question, please let me know. Good morning, Dante. How are you? It's great talking to you the other day on Monday morning, I think it was. So Dante's in Ottawa, and he's asking me, how is artificial intelligence going to change the investment industry? Are you planning on making a course on AI investing? Well, that's a great question. Well, I think that artificial intelligence is going to probably replace some jobs in financial services, especially trading and sales trading roles. Now, if you're watching this in your proprietary trading and you make your living that way, that's a different type of trader. The traders I'm talking about are the ones that work at big investment banks on the trading floor. And what they do is they match orders between big mutual funds and hedge funds and other big mutual funds and hedge funds. I think that can be replaced with technology. And it already is starting to be replaced in a lot of areas. Now, when it comes to other applications of AI within finance, I think that there's this great hedge fund called Renaissance Technologies, run by a brilliant man named Jim Simon. So look into that. And what Renaissance Technologies does is they have thousands of Linux server computers running in parallel, and they pick stocks. That's all they do. They pick stocks. and they look for patterns, right? And there's obviously no human emotional element in it to destroy alpha, as they call it, which is performance. And so if you check out Renaissance, you'll see that they've kind of mastered the whole artificial intelligence mass trading process. And the problem with that, though, and there are caveats when it comes to AI based or artificial intelligence based investing, is that what happens after a while, some of these computerized systems learn how to make money and then they copy each other. And so I'll never forget, I worked at a hedge fund called Pequot here in San Francisco back in August of 2007. And during that month, all the big artificial intelligence funds, like the Goldman Sachs Alpha Fund and the Renaissance Fund, had awful months because they reversed all their trades because trades weren't working. And it was the most bizarre thing because that month, again, it was August of 2007, the companies with the best fundamentals did the worst and vice versa. Hope that answers your question, Dante. Thanks. If you have a follow-up, please let me know. And am I planning, sorry, Dante has a question here. Am I planning on making a course on AI investing? Not at this point. There's a guy named Kirill, who's probably the best business and tech teacher on Udemy, in my humble opinion. Check out his courses. He does a lot of data analysis type courses. He's really good at it and probably much better than I would be. Okay, next one, we've got a question from Charlie. And again, if you have questions, please just type them in the fields here. So Charlie's asking a question. Hi, Chris. I recently started doing your course on Udemy. I would like to work in private equity, meaning equity research, meaning researching stocks. And I reached out to a couple of people in the industry without success, and I'm a techie entrepreneur. Okay. All right. So thanks, Charlie. That's a great question. You're out of Nairobi, Kenya. You wrote here. That's nice. Hi from California. Well, when it comes to people in technology that want to work in finance, meaning engineers, it's a lot easier to make that switch. And in Silicon Valley, there's a saying that people say in human resources circles, which is it's easier for an engineer to learn how to become a finance person than it is for a finance person to learn how to become an engineer. And so I think the best thing to do is to continue networking so you can get that role in private equity as an equity research analyst. And if you haven't done so already, please go to my website, which is harounventures.com, and just scroll down and you'll see that there's my book there on networking. And this is for you, what I'm going to say, and for everybody else in this webcast. That book is over 200 pages. It's free. And there's several hours of links to videos that I put on YouTube as well. And I guarantee you, I promise you that if you follow the methodologies in that book and read the whole thing, that you will be able to network better than anybody that you know. And that comes from years of failure on my part. It's really humbled me. But the most important skill set in business is networking. And again, they don't teach you that in business school. And I'm absolutely convinced that you will get informational meetings with people that work at private equity firms or in finance or in any industry you want using LinkedIn by networking, using the methodologies I explain in my free book on networking. My success rate on getting meetings with people I've never met before is 95%. And I don't say that to impress you. Rather, I say it to impress upon you the fact that you can network and get access to people. You just have to know how to approach them the right way. And so the most important thing, which I outline in the book, is you find something in common with somebody. So let's say that, and you mentioned here you're from Nairobi. Let's say that you're in New York City visiting, and you do an advanced search in LinkedIn for a 100-kilometer or 100-mile radius around zip code 10021 or whatever zip code in New York City you're at. You do that advanced search within LinkedIn, and you find people also from Nairobi that also maybe went to the same school as you. Just do a search for that work in the finance industry. Okay. And they'll probably be a lot older than you if you're just starting out your career. And you send them a LinkedIn message with this text exactly. The subject line is hi. And the contents of your message are, John, hope all is well. I'm also from Nairobi, and I also went to XYZ University, and I'm currently in New York City for the next couple of weeks. Please let me know if you have time for a coffee. Thanks, Charlie. Okay, that's your name, right, Charlie? Yes. And what will happen is, and don't say why you want to meet. And I'm not saying to be unethical, but if you tell people why you want to meet in a LinkedIn message, a lot of the times they won't respond because they'll feel bad they can't help you. Okay. And so you keep it very short. Please, thank you, and what you have in common. And I promise you that you will get those meetings. And more often than not, people will say yes to that. And Charlie, think of yourself, close your eyes and think of yourself 20 years in the future. You're way more successful than you are today. And somebody reaches out to you that's 20 years younger that reminds you of them. And they ask to meet. Would you say yes? Of course you would. Of course you would. And people want to help you. All you have to do is ask. And the reason why, Charlie, I say to use LinkedIn and not use email or text or other forms of communication is because everybody reads all messages in LinkedIn because, and I know you do too. I know everyone on this webcast that gets a message in LinkedIn, you all read them. Because in the top right-hand corner of LinkedIn, there's very valuable real estate with that red flag that comes on when somebody sends a message and we all read it. So hopefully that answers your question, Charlie. If it doesn't, please type a message here and I'll add to it in a follow-up answer. Thank you. Next is from Saksham from India. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, or good evening. I'm not sure. All right, sir, in India, most of the offline teachers only say to do intraday only on the basis of technicals. Should we do that? And do you mean trading? For intraday? Is that what you're talking about? Please just type here to clarify that. And while you're typing a follow-up, when you're investing, the three most important things to look at in this order are fundamentals, valuation, and then way at the end, you got technicals. Okay, and I don't recommend focusing only on technicals ever when you're investing. Okay, only do that as the third thing after you're happy with the fundamentals and valuation, because what happens is hedge funds, and I worked in that industry, and God, it was awful, man. They want you to make money every single month, and every month only has 20 trading days. 5 days a week, 4 weeks, and so if you look at technicals only, you'll be fooled by randomness. Right, you might be right once or twice, but stocks move for crazy reasons in the near term, right? Yet, like an economic announcement or market volatility or sentiment. Who cares about that on a daily basis? Look longer term instead of looking at technicals, and I promise you'll be much more successful in finance and in business. And Warren Buffett used to always say, "The longer the view, the wiser the intention." And I promise you, if you look at technicals first, you won't do as well as you might investing if you look at fundamentals first and then valuation second and the technicals third. So if you have a follow-up to that, please let me know. Good morning, Larry. Hi, Chris. I'd like to know, how do you manage to read books out of your busy schedule? And you got to follow up. I'll answer the first one first. So I actually don't really have the patience to read books like I used to. Maybe it's because I'm distracted by many different screens like this, et cetera. So what I do is I actually listen to a ton of books, and I listen to books on tape, or that's dating myself. Sorry, books online. And so if you go to audible.com, that's an Amazon company, audible.com, and I subscribe, I pay $15 a month. And I get a couple of books for free. And I listen to those books in the car, or most importantly, when I go for walks. When I go for long walks, I love to listen to books. I do my best thinking when I go for walks because you're releasing serotonin and endorphins up here, and you can just think better and more clearly. And so that's what I would recommend. And Larry, if you mention what you're interested in business, I can recommend certain books for you as well. And then Larry, you got a follow-up question here. And please, for anybody else on this webcast, type as many questions as you want right now here in that message field. So Larry's got a follow-up question. Also, do you have a course how to set up a business from scratch, meaning finance and marketing for the startup? Oh my God, that is an awesome question. Thank you, because I don't know how you know, but it's probably the biggest gap in my product portfolio of teaching is business plans. And I'm working on a business plan course now that will be out by October or November. And it's going to tell you everything you know about how to create a business plan from scratch. And Larry, I'm going to make it really simplistic with a really cool Excel dashboard, kind of like I do in my other courses. I'm not going to talk about other courses here, and what I'll do is I'll make it so easy. All you have to do is fill in the blanks in this business plan course, so that what will automatically be created for you is not just a Microsoft Word business plan automatically, but also a PowerPoint presentation for your business plan based on what you enter. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm working on it right now, working very hard on it. Yeah, when it comes out, please send me a message and I'll send you a copy for free. And my wife always says, Chris, why do why do you do this business if you always give away a lot of stuff for free? It's just who I am, whatever. Okay, so I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. Let's see here. All right. Thank you, Don. Don wrote, I really enjoy watching your videos. Thank you. So please keep them coming. If you have questions, let me know. For those of you that don't know much about finance or accounting and you're looking to get into that industry, what I recommend is taking my course, Introduction to Finance, Accounting, Valuation and Modeling, because it explains finance from scratch. And I got a D in accounting the first time I took it at McGill University up in Canada, because what I did was I was memorizing accounting and finance, but you have to understand it. And I teach you really easy ways to do that. Okay, great. So it looks like I've got a couple of follow-up questions. Please keep them coming. Thank you. I've got one here from Amanda. Good morning, Amanda. Amanda, to follow up on the previous question, how do you manage to get so much done? Thank you. Well, when you get a bit older, you tend to know what's important to do and what's not important to do. And so what I do now is every single day before I go to bed, I fill out this one-page template in PowerPoint format that I printed out. And I'm going to provide a copy for you, okay? So after this is done, look in the description field in an hour or two, and I promise you, I'll leave you the best schedule maker you'll ever see. And what I do is every night before I go to bed, I fill out the schedule and I write down exactly what I'm going to do the next day at every hour or so, if I can. And I also schedule time for family. I schedule time for friends. I should schedule more time for friends. I don't, though I should. I also schedule time for diet, exercise, weight training, a little bit. I'm not that big, whatever, but it keeps me happy. And then little things that are personal to me that, like did God is important to me, whatever. I won't go there, but it's a little checkbox. I pray and all that stuff. And did I take my vitamins? And did I get 20,000 steps in? That sort of thing, which means I'll get 10,000. You know what I mean? So it's a one-page schedule that, again, I'll leave here in the comment section. It's from my course, 30-day challenge to a more productive, much happier you. You don't have to buy the course because I'm going to give you that schedule template there for free. And that's how I do it. And what I also do is, Amanda, is I make sure I take the 7th day off every week, right? And it's prophetic. If you go back thousands of years, our forefathers, foremothers, they knew what they were talking about by making one day off a week, a day of non-work. Because once you burn out, then it's so hard to unburn out or to reverse that. So I take my breaks as well, which is hard for me because I really do love what I do. I love this. I love trying to humbly help people. It's my passion. Okay, and that's a great question. And Amanda's also asking what's an average day look for me. And again, if you have questions, please type them here. Thanks, Amanda, for the follow up. And I promise you I'll answer all these questions. We have 2 hours here. So Amanda, a typical day for me, I get up, maybe around 6:30 or so, and I have to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I have to, or I can't function properly. Right. And then what I do is I have my morning coffee, which I'm going to explain how I make it. It's going to sound crazy to you. I create what's called bulletproof coffee. And let me just show you my mug. Sorry. It says, I survived another meeting that could have been an email. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to use this every week on this call. Not that this could be replaced with an email, but it's just kind of funny. So the coffee I have every morning, which gives me unbelievable energy and cognitive abilities, is called Bulletproof. And it's a special coffee bean that I buy, and maybe it's a placebo, I don't know. But I buy it over Amazon, Bulletproof coffee. And it's a special coffee that's ground in such a way that when it's shipped to you, there's no mold on it. A lot of coffee has mold, which actually you get the high initially from the caffeine and then you have the crash, right? So Bulletproof coffee does not have that. I'm not affiliated with Bulletproof at all, please. And then you put what's called MCT oil in your coffee. It's a couple drops of oil from Bulletproof, okay? And it's like coconut oil. And then what I do next, and you're all going to think I'm crazy if you don't already. What I do next is I put a tablespoon of organic grass-fed butter in my coffee. And what happens, it tastes like you put milk or cream in it. It's actually pretty good. And people have been doing that, butter in their coffee for hundreds of years. And what happens is, for some chemical reason, you can focus. unbelievably because of that. And so, I don't know if you've seen that movie Bradley Cooper or that movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper, but what he does is in that movie he takes a special product that helps him inhale information or do stuff fast. And since I've been taking that bulletproof coffee every single day since 2015, I've been able to write 1 million books, create a gazillion courses, whatever, and just help a lot more people and just live my life on my terms. Now, if you do bulletproof coffee, please be careful because the oil can hurt your stomach initially. Ask me offline if you like more details. Just put a tiny drop in at first. And so after my coffee in the morning, what I do is, I'll respond to emails from students. I also have a great employee I work with, a partner of mine, Wrigley, help out a lot with that. And here's what I'll drink. Okay, so I make a shake. It's just kale and a bunch of other stuff. And every Sunday I make 7 of these. Okay. And this is my meal between 7 a.m. and noon. I drink it slowly. And I've got greatest hits of everything in it that can give you a ton of energy, help you think more clearly, speak more clearly, and just be more productive and happy. And what I put in this thing, it's greatest hits of stuff that I've researched over the years. So I put a lot of kale in it, raw ginger root, which is tasty. I put whey protein. I put something called super green drink, super red drink, which are just antioxidants in a powder. I put acai, okay, which is I think it's a South American fruit. It's really good. And then what I do is I put in a little bit of fish oil. And then this is out there, but I put a little bit of jalapeno in as well. Just give it a kick. I like that kick. And then I drink that, and that's my meal throughout up until about noon. And sorry for the rumbling in the background, but I take a bunch of other vitamins as well. I'm going to show you that give me a lot of pardon me, a lot of energy. So we're all deficient in certain vitamins in our bodies. Okay, we don't know what they are, and if you fill that void of those vitamins that you're deficient in by taking multivitamins, then what happens is I think you live much longer, you're more productive, you think better, and all that good stuff. And so the vitamins I take, they're called Daily Advantage. Okay, and I take a pack of these every day. There's fish oil pill you can see there, and there's the web address as well on the bottom, drwilliams.com, and I'll type it in the subject field as well. Okay, so this plugs all the gaps of vitamins. Okay, see your nutritionist or doctor first, whatever. I live in America, and there's lawyers everywhere. And then I take this, and so the head of engineering now at Google is a brilliant man named Ray Kurzweil. And Ray Kurzweil has written a lot of books on how to extend your life. And he has this weird thesis that if you live just another 40 years, then you should be able to live another 100 years after that because of technology advancements, that sort of thing. And so this here has resveratrol in it and a couple other vitamins that will help you to live longer and slow down aging. Now, you can't reverse aging, but you can slow it down. And so anyway, that's that. And then throughout the day, I'll go to various meetings. I'll take calls from students. I'll work from different places because I can't just sit still. I'll do my daily vlog, which hopefully you've seen. Hopefully you guys like it. And then I'll go to the gym around 4 o'clock, and I'll do a ton of work from the gym. Actually, I'll do it. I don't know if I brought my iPad. I think I left it upstairs, but I'll put my iPad on the elliptical trainer at around 4 o'clock, and I'll work on that for at least an hour. Right on the elliptical trainer, because having grown up in Canada, I know that cross-country skiing, which is the elliptical trainer, exercises every muscle group in your body. But I'll do probably one of my best hour of work is first hour of the morning. My second best is at 4 p.m. while I'm on the elliptical trainer, reading my iPad, doing emails and watching whatever it is I watch or researching courses. And the reason why, and nobody does this, I don't know why, but if you exercise while you're reading or while you're doing work, or your passion, whatever it is, you'll be more productive because your brain is taking in a lot of oxygen, and your brain is like a muscle, right? And so if you want to get, bigger muscles, whatever, obviously you work them out hard, and the same, but it needs oxygen in your muscles, and the same thing with your brain. And you'll see that if you start doing that, or just listening to audiobooks when you're on the elliptical trainer, or when you go for a long walk, I guarantee you that you'll be able to retain much more information that way. Okay. And then towards the end of the day, I'll try to have dinner with the family. I'm not that great with that. I try so hard. I should do a better job at that. I'm very self-critical. And then my kids and I, we might play some Fortnite. Sorry. And then I'll put my kids to bed. I'll read my youngest son prayers, and then we'll play a game on the iPad, and then bedtime. But hopefully that answers your question. Sorry if I gave you too much information there. Okay, so next question I've got is from Marcus. Hi, Marcus. Marcus says, I'm looking to get back into stock and Forex, which means foreign exchange investing. What platforms do you set to use starting from scratch? So I don't recommend using any trading platforms or high frequency trading platforms. I like the basic ones. So whoever your online broker is, you can use any online brokerage website to buy and sell stocks. But I created a platform in a course of mine called the Complete Financial Analyst Training and Investing course. And I also have the same or similar platform, another course of mine called the Complete Personal Finance course. In the Complete Personal Finance course, I've created this special dashboard customized for you and by you in the course that will help you to manage your portfolio. And what you do is this, and this is the best platform if you want to use one out there on the internet. And I feel bad talking through. I'm not trying to pitch my courses. I'm trying to help. But if you go to finance.yahoo.com, that's the best repository for getting information on stocks and for managing a portfolio. It's really easy to use. And I set it up so that the APIs can actually export directly into those courses I mentioned a minute ago. And if you use Yahoo Finance or any of you that use any other websites out there to research stocks, please do your own research. Don't ever rely on the research of others. And you'll notice I never tell you which stocks to buy, but I help you to kind of crystallize your thoughts and create a template and come up with a process to do it, which works, I promise you. But when you go to these websites like Yahoo Finance, make sure you never read any editorials from anybody ever. Okay. And don't ever be careful. Don't read what's called sponsored stories. And they have it says sponsored stories. And they look like editorials from smart people, but everybody's kind of pitching something, right? Whatever, their own stocks. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have any more questions about that, Marcus, please let me know. Okay. Thanks, Larry, for that. Okay. Tiger has a question. I look forward to see courses on building a business plan. Thank you so much. That's Cassandra. Okay. Thanks, Cassandra. I appreciate that. And if you have any advice for me, anybody on this webcast, on what you want me to add to that, a business plan course, you can type it here or send me a message. I love student feedback. You are the customer and I make these courses for you. So thank you for that. Again, if you have questions, please type them here, as many as you can, as many as you want in this message field. I'm going to answer all your questions. It's a 2-hour call this morning. So, and every week. All right. Next question I've got is from Ashkan. Hi, Ashkan, how are you? Office hours are my favorite. I was coming to ask questions about nutrition during the startup phase of your business, and you've already answered it. Awesome, thank you. Wow, that's great. I got lucky there, I guess. And if you have more questions about nutrition, please let me know. Again, you can't reverse aging, but you can slow it down. I mean, look at me. I'm 74 years old, but I look like I'm 22. And I'm just kidding. Sorry. I'm 46. Yeah. The older I get, the better I was. Okay. Let's see the next question. All right. All right. Amanda. Another question from Amanda. Thank you. And please type all your questions here. Type multiple ones if you want as well. Amanda's got another question, which is, who's the most successful entrepreneur or team you've ever worked with or funded? What caught my attention? Okay. So that's a great question. And I've got this is the other laptop I look at. You see that company Cohesity right there? Sorry, I didn't mean to give you the finger. That's one of the companies that we funded. And there's been other ones where we had exits like Nimble Storage and a bunch of others, but Cohesity is one that I absolutely love, and it's got everything that we needed. All the check boxes were checked to invest in this company, and Sequoia actually invested in the company before us. They did the A round, and we did the B rounds. And I had a board seat before I left my last company to start this company. And what Cohesity does is they make storage appliances. And I won't bore you with the details unless you want me to. But what I'll do is I'll answer this question in such a way that it'll give you a framework to understand how to invest in other startups, or when you're starting a company, how to position yourself. So what happened was this. I met with the founder, a guy named Mohit Aaron. And this guy is a rock star, right? And you always want to look at the management team first, okay? And in the business plan course that I'm creating for you all, I'm doing a lot of stuff on management team, how to make your management team look better on paper and in reality. And Mohit had actually started a couple of companies. One of them was called Astra Data that he sold to I think it was to Teradata. He was one of the earlier employees at Google. He wrote the Google file system, which means he was the guy that helped make Google much, much faster through searches and all that drop down, complete my sentence. Didn't you mean this stuff? And Mohit Aaron from this company, Cohesive, what he also did was he started a company called Nutanix. He was a co-founder, which went public. It's worth a couple $1 billion. And so the first thing you look at is management. And he's passionate too. I love this guy. He's right. He's amazing. And he's already wealthy, but he doesn't care. It's not about money. That's important to me, right? It's about reinventing an industry. And so number one, management team, check. He passed all the bells and whistles. Next thing I looked at was the size of the market. And a lot of venture capitalists won't invest in a company unless the market cap or part of the size of the market is $20 billion or more. Sorry for the background noise there. And so because the market size was massive, I thought, oh my God, this is great. Even if he's just a little bit right, this company will do extraordinarily well. And then I looked also at the rest of the team. They were rock star engineers. The other investors, Sequoia, led the A round, which is Sequoia is the best venture capital firm on the planet ever. And so anyway, the stars all aligned. I felt comfortable with it. I introduced a bunch of customers to them as well when I was doing my due diligence on the company, when I was trying to win that deal, because we do compete against other venture capital firms. And some of the customers I introduced, CTOs from big banks, had wonderful things to say about the technology and the company. So thank you for that question. If you have any follow-up questions about that company or others, you can you can let me know. Again, if you have questions, please just type them here. Okay. And then Saksham's got a question saying, sir, Chris, please. Do you know any analysts in India? I don't at the moment, but I used to know a lot of analysts when I used to invest in Indian software companies like Satyam, Wipro, Infosys, and Cognizant. And a lot of the analysts that used to cover Cognizant before it got bought were based in New York because it was financial services-based consulting. So I'm sorry, I don't, but there are a lot of wonderful analysts, I'm sure, in India. And I know that a lot of Wall Street firms, what they do is they have all the financial models are created in their India office by people there. But I do know a lot of engineers there. Okay, thank you. And I went to India. I loved it there, man. I went to little side note here. I went to Mumbai. Just there's this company that brought me in to give some keynotes. And I went to Delhi, and Mumbai blew me away, man. It was incredible. Now there's like 25 million people in Mumbai, and millions of people live in the slums, but there's also wealthy people. And when I was going from the airport to my hotel, the driver drove through the slums, and it was a big deal for me because I looked at some people that had nothing, and they looked so happy. Nothing to lose, just happy in general. And it's just, anyway, that really, really touched me. Sorry to ramble there. That was off topic. Okay, so great. Next up, I've got a question from AviPro. Could you please post the ingredients of both the coffee and the morning drink? Would love to start with that. Absolutely, I'll do that. And I actually did a vlog on biohacking as well, but I'm going to post everything for you. And for those of you that are on the call, all the follow-up links I'm going to provide will be in the description field, and I'll post it within an hour or two after this call. I'll do that for you. Absolutely. And if you have follow-up questions, let me know. Again, do your own research when it comes to nutrition as well, and talk to your doctor. Okay, thanks. All right, Action's got a question. And if you have questions, please post them here. Action says, I was told I'm currently running a venture fund because I'm managing multiple startups that I'm building from the ground up in the hopes to profit from this. That sounds like the correct title. Now, what a venture capital fund is, it's basically a pool of money that you get from other people to invest in a lot of different companies, right? And so, yeah, it sounds like a venture fund to me if it's pooled capital. Now, the way venture capital works is very different from other industries. Now, if you wanted to invest in a mutual fund, you'd wire your money, you send your money to the mutual fund. And don't do that. Mutual funds are bad investments. If you wanted to invest in a venture capital fund, you sign a contract with a venture capital firm. And then what happens is they don't take all the money right away. Okay, they take the money as they need it. And it's called a capital call. They'll call you every now and then for capital. They'll say, "Hey, remember that $100 you committed in that paperwork? We need $10 of it right now because we're putting 10% of our portfolio into this company here." So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, actually, please let me know. But it sounds like, yeah, you are running a venture fund. That's cool. That's great. That's great. Remember, think long term. Okay, I'm sure you do. Okay, and then you've got a follow up here. And again, if you got questions, please type them here. So I can answer them. And if you've already asked questions, just type a lot more too, please. I'm here for you. Okay, I got another question. I manage 8 small businesses, 2 of which are ready to launch, and 8 I'm determining with the right strategy, what the right strategy will be to be profitable. And I guess a follow up, if you're managing multiple enterprises, is that a venture funds? Well, I would say that if you got money from other people to invest in multiple companies, then it kind of is a venture fund. But you want to talk to your accountant as well to make sure that it's structured that way. Okay. There's certain tax implications, and you can actually get into a bit of trouble in some countries. And I don't know what the rules are in other countries, but you have to get accredited investors, which means investors that have a certain net worth before they can invest in a venture fund or a hedge fund. And governments do this to protect you, right? Because these things are really risky investments. And so there's certain criteria. You have to have a certain net worth and all that stuff. Make sure your investors are accredited. Talk to your accountant and maybe a lawyer as well. Okay. And for those of you that are starting a company and you have no idea about legal stuff and what legal entity to start, let me know. And I'll include that in my business plan course as well. You can always go to, if you're in the US at least, to legalzoom.com. And I do all my copyright stuff there, everything. Right? Trademarks. And it cost me not that much money. It cost me $30 to do a trademark. I do it myself. I don't like dealing with lawyers. And LegalZoom.com. And again, I'm not affiliated with these guys or anybody. What happens is you can pay a one-time fee, or you can pay $30 for each call you have with specialized lawyers that you determine. $30. It's great for lawyers, right? So anyway, it helps out. Or you're welcome, Avi Pro. And then please just enter your questions here if you have them. Okay, great. So Action's got a question. So if I'm leveraging, and if I've not answered your question yet, and if it's way up above, just repaste it. Sorry. The question is, so if I'm leveraging high-level skills and building the business myself, what am I technically doing? Okay. Building. I don't know if I fully know how to answer the question properly. I guess you're managing the company, or if you bought the company from somebody else and you're trying to improve it, it's a turnaround. So you're trying to turn that company around. And if that didn't answer your question, please let me know. And I'm sorry for not being more clear there. Okay. And it looks like you followed up by saying, I'm not using any capital but my own skills and hard work. Okay. Well, if you're just using your own money, I don't know if it's clarified as a venture capital firm. Again, speak with your accountant and a tax lawyer locally to see if you can structure it that way, so you can raise money. And, for those of you starting companies, I don't want you to use your own money. Okay. I mean, you can use a little bit to get started. Now, more than 50% of startups max out their credit cards, right? And then they have credit issues. Don't do that, man. Just network and find investors. I promise you can find them. Just read my networking book, which again, you can get from harounventures.com. Download it for free. And it'll teach you how to network and get meetings with people the easy way using LinkedIn. And try to, I refer to it as OPM, not OPM, but OPM, other people's money. Try to do that if you can. You'll have to give up some equity because you don't want to put your family through stress. And there are a lot of people that want to invest in you. You just got to find them. Right? You got to be resilient and just look for them. And do not, whatever you do, please don't get a bank loan ever. Okay. Don't get a bank loan to start a company because bankers in general they don't like taking risks. And if you're one day late, sometimes what they do is they'll force you to, shut down your business. They'll take away your stuff. And the last thing I'll say about that, and if you have follow-up questions, let me know. When you start a company, please register that business as a limited liability corporation or some other framework where you live so that if you get sued by somebody, lawsuits happen, or something bad happens, God forbid, that they can't come after your family, your house, your cars, your kids' education. They can only come after the company. Okay, great. Okay, so next question I've got is from Saksham. Thank you for the question. Can you please tell me the difference between a sell side analyst and a sell side trader? Okay, so that's a great question. So what happens is all these big investment banks like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or UBS, all of them, they have trading floors. Okay. And what they do in those big trading floors, and you've seen them on TV, is they buy and sell stocks for the big mutual funds. Those are their clients, or the big hedge funds, and they take a commission. Okay. And what happens is a sell side trader, what they do on the trading floor is they execute those orders. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Okay, let's pretend that I'm working at Morgan Stanley on the trading floor and I'm a sales trader. Okay, sales trader. The phone rings. It's my client, which is Fidelity, big mutual fund. Hi, Chris. There's him. Hi, Chris. I want to buy 100,000 shares of Microsoft. Can you make that happen? Sure. Let me get back to you. Hang up the phone. And I call another mutual fund and I say, hey, I've got a client that wants to buy at a slightly higher price, 100,000 shares. Do you want to buy? If they say yes, then great, I match up that trade and that's it. And I believe technology will replace part of that rule soon. Now, when it comes to a sell-side analyst is an absolute expert in one area, okay, which is a certain subsector of the economy. And so there are sell-side analysts that you see on TV all the time, like CNBC or financial news programs, and they just talk about one stock and they work for those big banks, or one sector, I should say. And so there's internet analysts, which cover all the big internet companies, Google, eBay, Amazon, etc., right, in the United States. And then you might have an internet analyst in China covering Baidu, Tencent, and all those other companies. You also have analysts that cover machinery, like analysts that cover, Caterpillar or Terex in the United States, or Komatsu over in Japan. So you have an analyst covering every sector on the sell side, okay? And their job is to help the buy side analysts, meaning the ones managing money. They help them understand those stocks better. And these sell side analysts get on TV all the time and talk about what stocks they like, whatever. But you got to be careful because a lot of these analysts are biased, and I know they're not supposed to be, but I shouldn't go there, but I'm going to. Okay, there's an analyst that I knew of, and he covered the software sector, and another big firm was about to hire. They were looking to hire a new software analyst, and they called me. I didn't want the job, but they said, "Chris, you know anybody?" And so I called my buddy and I said, "Hey, this firm wants to hire a new analyst to cover software. Do you want to take that job, or you want to interview?" And my buddy said, "They wouldn't hire me." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I have a sell rating on Microsoft." Right? Why? Why would they hire? I said, "Why?" Well, because these big investment banks, they want to do banking work with Microsoft, because Microsoft buys a lot of companies, right? They have an investment banking division as well. And so anyway, I'll leave it at that. A little off topic. If you have follow-up questions on that, please let me know. Okay. Next question is from Ikmel. He's got a question on what's your advice on finding the right partner for a new business? Yeah, this one's tough. And I've had a lot of partners in the past. I've had great experiences. I've had bad experiences. It's hard because you might spend, unfortunately, more time in your life with that partner in that company than you might your family, right? And by the way, I read a statistic about kids, and this broke my heart. But by the time your child is 12 years old, you've already spent 90% of your time with them. Anyway, a little off topic there. But when it comes to, so spend more time with your family and your parents too, if you can. But when it comes to a partner, make sure that they have the same, the same ethical mandates as you. Make sure you trust them. Make sure you've known them for a while. Go with your gut and ask your wife or husband what they think of this person as well. And if your gut tells you not to, this is a big coffee. If your gut tells you not to trust somebody in business or in your personal life, go with your gut. And I can't explain it, but I think you all know what I mean. If the first time somebody screws you over, you think to yourself, shame on you. And the second time it's like, shame on me, right? Go with your gut. And if this person, it doesn't seem ethical to you, go with your gut. And let me explain 4 ways to tell if somebody is lying. And I mentioned this in another course. Sorry for being a little redundant here. But when I worked at a big hedge fund called Citadel, it was a lot of fun. It was stressful though. What Citadel did was they hired 25-year FBI and CIA veterans to come and teach myself and my team how to tell if people are lying. Okay. And you can use this when talking to a potential partner, and use this in business and your personal life if you want to. And let me go through these 4 rules. Okay. Now, before I jump into them, I want to say that one data point doesn't make a trend, but if you get 2, 3, or 4 of these being correct, there's a good chance they're lying. Okay. Use your own judgment. The first one is this. Okay. And everybody's different. Okay. The first one is this. If you ask somebody a yes or no question and they ramble on and on and on and on when they answer the question, kind of like I am now. If they ramble on, then there's a good chance they're lying. Okay. Number one, they ramble on to a simple question. Okay. And you see it with kids as well. I'm not going to go there with my kids. They never lie. Right. So that's the first one. The second one is this. Do they break eye contact with you with certain questions? So my demeanor is different. I look down every now and then when I'm talking, and you'll see that when I do my videos. But if somebody usually makes eye contact with you, and you ask them a question and they break eye contact when they're answering that question, they could be lying. There's a good chance. Okay, that's 2 of the 4. I'm going to discuss the other 2 right now. And remember, 2 of the 4 or 3 or 4 of the 4 have to be there for it to be legit. Okay. The next one is this. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Meet the Parents, with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro. Great movie, but there's that one scene where Robert De Niro, who works for the Secret Service, is trying to see if Ben Stiller is lying about his intentions with his daughter. And he puts a special thing on. It's a lie detector test, right? And you see these in movies. And what lie detector tests do is they check to see if you're nervous at all when you answer questions. The way that the Secret Service agents do it also is, what they do is they look to see if you're shaking your foot a little bit. Okay. So if you shake your foot a little bit, as long as you don't drink too much coffee, this makes me shake my foot, whatever. Right. So see if they're a little bit nervous shaking their foot. And the last thing I'll do of the 4, the last thing I'll tell you about of the 4 ways is if they touch their face. Right. And it has to be not a habit. Like if they usually touch their face all the time, whatever, you can't go there with this one. But if somebody touches their face or covers their mouth, when they're answering a question, there's a good chance that they're lying, right? So let me just say that I'm really enjoying watching this, doing this webcast. Just kidding. That's called dad humor. Sorry, no, I do love this, but look for those 4 things, okay? When you're looking for a business partner as well, and just make sure you're comfortable with them around customers as well. See if they can sell. Okay, because when you have a partner in business, they got to be a 5-tool player. They got to be able to sell, market, and whatever the other 3 are. Okay, all right. So let me move on here. Okay, next question, and I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Okay, great. Actually, I just downloaded my book for free. Good, thank you. Okay, what is your Okay, another question from Cassandra, I think, right? Yeah, Tiger. So what is your vision when it comes to cryptocurrencies? And I made a course called, and I'm not here to hype up my courses, but it's called the Complete Cryptocurrency Course. It's 5 courses in one. It's 24-hour course. I think I made it a little bit too long, to be honest. You can buy that course, or just go to Google or go to YouTube and just do a search. And I put the first 6 hours of it up for free, so you don't waste money if you don't want to buy it. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, I think that most, if not almost all, of these cryptocurrencies are horrible investments. Okay. And the problem is the market is not regulated at all by governments, right? And government regulation is usually a good thing. Governments have noble intentions as well, right? Like they try to protect you. Like if you buy a stock and I'll be right back. Stay here. I'm going to get my Facebook prospectus. Okay. I want to show you something. Stay there. All right. So, sorry about that. When you buy a stock, the government makes companies that work on Wall Street or whatever financial region in the world write up these really thick documents. Okay, and these are called S1 documents. Okay, and you can go to sec.gov and find these S1 documents for any company that went public. Okay, and these are great documents if you're researching a company or if you're looking to start a company and you want to see what your competition does, even the bigger ones. And in this document, this Facebook prospectus from the IPO has every single risk you can possibly think of. Okay, and these are great documents to read before investing in a company that's publicly traded. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, these things don't exist. And so what I did in my course is I created a 49-step process to create these documents for cryptocurrencies, so you can analyze the heck out of them before you invest. Now, there's more cryptocurrencies in the world today than there are real currencies, and it's a little bit ridiculous. And I think most of these investments are going to go to zero, and I think a lot of people are going to go to jail. A lot of people go to jail for pumping and dumping, basically going online and saying amazing things about cryptos that they own, and then they sell them, right? So just be careful. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrencies in general, I mean, there are a couple of great ones, like a Bitcoin, whatever. It's digital gold. It was the first one. There's Ethereum, which is kind of like a platform. And in the future, I think that most contracts that you and I sign and healthcare products and voting systems will all be done using a digital ledger called blockchain. Okay, and I can go to more detail on that if you want me to. But for the most part, most cryptocurrencies are absolute scams. Now, I think that cryptocurrencies, and this is going to sound out there, but I'm always fully transparent what I'm thinking. Cryptocurrencies, I think, for many governments, are the biggest threat to national security. And I'll explain why. So governments hate cryptocurrencies in most countries, okay? Most countries. The reason is that whenever a government wants to build a bridge, not walls, but a bridge, or they want to, God forbid, declare war, governments can't raise enough money through taxes. They just can't, right, to fund that. So they issue bonds. And when they issue bonds, the reason that people buy these bonds is because the government makes the interest rate go up for these bonds, right, by taking some money out of circulation. Okay. Now, if the government loses that power to manipulate their currency up or down, meaning interest rates, they can't sell as many bonds to do whatever it is they want to use with that money. If people start using cryptocurrencies and not demanding the regular paper currencies in your country or my country, then what happens is the government can't fund big projects anymore to the same extent that they could in the past, right? And it doesn't take that much of a decrease in demand for a currency for a company to default on their debt, which happens to a lot of countries, unfortunately. So I don't know if I fully answered your question. I can go into a lot more detail on cryptocurrencies. I can teach you how to mine them from scratch, how to create a computer from scratch, what wallets to use, what exchanges to use, all that sort of thing. But in my course, I created. I want to show you. I love props, and so in my course, I created a 49-step program. Right, and this is a football for the San Francisco 49ers. You can get these custom made actually at wilson.com for any type of ball. And I have 49 steps, right? And the reason I'm showing this to you is because in the Bay Area here, there's a big football team called the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers refer to miners, right? That would mine for gold. That's why San Francisco exists. Everyone came here to look for gold, in the 1800s. Right? They didn't find much, right? And so it's a very it's really, really risky, kind of like gold mining. You got to be careful. Anyway, if any of you ever if you're running a team or managing a team, I recommend getting customized things like this whenever you're kicking off a new initiative at your company. I love doing this. You kind of throw the ball around when you're talking about a new initiative. You can do it with cricket balls or soccer balls or footballs, they call it overseas. A lot of fun. So anyway, hopefully I answer your question there. Okay. Okay. I got a follow-up question here on if using cryptocurrencies, you're going to be tracked for everything you do and freedom ends. That's right. It's unfortunate. We do give up a lot of privacy with technology. It's hard to live off the grid. And yes, everything can be tracked, and it's it's weird. Like a lot of phone calls are recorded too. Like when I worked on Wall Street, I knew for a fact that my calls are being recorded, by the FBI, right? Everybody was on Wall Street. It's just the way it is, right? And if you want, you can go and look at one of my vlogs I made on insider trading. I made it last week, and I'll teach you all about it. And I know people that went to jail for insider trading stuff. Everything is recorded, right? Whenever you're talking on the phone, NSA records, and I'm not that. I don't want to be that guy, but if you say certain words on the phone, it's recorded. Things are tracked, obviously online, all your credit card statements. So the only way to get around that is just use cash for everything if that's convenient for you. And I don't carry cash anymore. That's just me. Okay. Now I agree that we do give up a lot of liberties because of that. And if you have a follow-up question about that, please let me know. Okay. I could talk about cryptos forever. If you have a question, please post it here. Next one I've got is from Mr. Nitro. Dave, how are you, man? Hope you're doing well. Okay, so hi, Chris. I want to invest, but I am on a budget. I can't afford Amazon, Apple, etc. They're high-priced stocks. Okay, how do you investigate cheaper stocks to invest in? So I think you're implying one share of those stocks might be hard to buy because they're higher priced, and hopefully they split one day so you can invest. You might look for companies that are somewhat similar to those, or maybe companies that supply components to Apple, or who partner with Amazon Web Services, that's Amazon software platform, maybe smaller companies to invest in that way. But the best way to invest is to do a ton of research first. And earlier in this call, I mentioned for that guy that was interviewing today to bring a one-page template. Look at that template in the description field. I'll post it after this call, and use that template and fill it out before looking to invest. And for my crypto course, whatever, I have a 49-step process. I do a ton of research, and what this process does is it kind of replaces this. Okay, and I look at every possible thing you can analyze for a company. So if you want, you can take my complete financial analyst course, and that might help a lot in terms of understanding how to analyze a company from scratch. And I'd love for you, Dave, and for everybody in this call to really do your research before investing in a stock. Spend a lot of time on it and write a research report before buying that stock. Okay, please, because it'll give you the confidence to think longer term. Okay. All right. If you have a follow-up on that, please let me know. And the best way to do homework is filling out those templates I provide in my courses. And the stuff I put in my courses is based on 25 years of my experience, not just my successes, but my many failures too. Right. I want to help you work smarter and not harder. And don't ever listen to anybody else's advice when it comes to picking a stock or any type of investment. Do your own research, because everybody is biased. Like people on TV, like they're biased a lot of times. You got to ask, why are they pitching this? And if somebody ever comes up to me and tries to sell me something, I think to myself, why am I so lucky to be given this opportunity? Okay, so always question bias and do your own research. Okay, and you are the smartest person in the world, right? You just got to do your research. That's all. And anyway, let me move on. And that smartest person in the world is a quote from Steve Jobs. Great video on that. I'll put that in the description field after we wrap this up. Okay, great. Amanda says, I break eye contact all the time. Glad to hear one data point doesn't make a trend. That's right. And I do that too. I break eye contact. And it's weird because when I do these webcasts, it's bizarre because I look at myself on the screen and not the camera. You're supposed to look at the camera. So it's a little different, I guess. I'm not the best at these webcast things. Okay. Okay, so I've got, thank you, Tiger. Thanks for that comment in the crypto course. Okay, next question I've got. Thank you much for the advice. Really appreciate it. I actually already started a business a year ago, and I'm quitting soon because my partner takes all the credit. Oh, interesting. It's so interesting how you think there's only politics at big companies, but there's also politics at small companies too, and startups. But if your partner takes all the credit, ooh, that's spicy. It's my jalapeno there. If your partner takes all the credit, I don't know if that should matter if you have a legal document that shows that you own half the company. It should be 50-50. And for anybody, and if this person is taking more in the credit, like taking like more money out of the business, go back to that legal contract that you signed and speak with your attorney if applicable. And don't ever sign a legal contract, please, unless you speak with an attorney. And It might be a couple $100. And I know it sounds like a lot of money, but it will really save your bacon in the long run. I've been in partnerships where before I've signed the contract, I've hired a lawyer for a couple $100 and had that lawyer review it, and she gave me a lot of great advice, which really saved me. When I decided to leave a company and take my equity with me. Right. So make sure you speak with a lawyer first. Always, 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 please. That goes for anybody, especially if you're in a small company working for somebody else. Get a lawyer to read that contract. Okay. Because, and don't worry if it's uncomfortable going back to your boss or new boss, potential boss, and say that I hired a lawyer. It's okay, because what happens is they should understand that you're trying to protect your family and yourself. And their lawyer has one objective, which is looking out for them. Okay. And lawyers are brutal, right? So make sure you do that. Lawyers write all these things as well. Okay. And I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, please let me know. And I'm sorry to hear that you're having that issue with your partner. I've been there. I've been there many times. Yeah. Okay, so next question is, I read books and listen to audiobooks, and they all speak of providing value to people. So how would we know which value to provide? Oh, I love that question. I'm actually putting that in my business plan course right now. How do you know if it's the right product? Well, you got to think of the competition first. How can I provide more value than the competition? And what does my customer want? Is my customer only focused on price? And they're not. A lot of times they don't mind paying a premium to you if you offer more value. And I don't mind paying a premium for higher priced products. Like I'll always buy this over a knockoff. There's not that many competitors out there, but I trust the Apple brand. That's just me. And a company is only as good as its customer service, right? And speaking of Amazon, they've got the best customer service on the planet, and I love that company, right? So just think about when you're starting that company and you're serving others or creating products for others, how can you add more value to them than the competition does? Okay. And really, really analyze that. And again, my course, the business plan course, I don't even know what I'm going to name it yet, but that will help you do that as well. And I would love for you to take the course. And when it comes out, just send me a message. I'll give it to you for free. And that goes for anybody on this webcast. But I'd love you to take that course. And when you fill out that business plan template that I'm going to give you, if it convinces you not to start your company, that's a good thing. Okay. Because I'd rather save you the heartache now rather than, starting a company and losing money and just wasting time. Okay. Okay, great. Next one I've got, thank you. Thanks, Ikmal. Really appreciate that. Nice feedback there. Okay, so Amanda, awesome vlog on insider trading. Chris, one of my favorites. Real live stuff with real life consequences. Thank you. And I was fully transparent, and I was a little bit worried when I hit the publish button on it, because nobody talks about insider trading, right? But I think it's something we need to talk about. And for those of you that invest in stocks, I want to save you from getting yourself in trouble. Okay, so if you're lining up at Starbucks or whatever coffee shop it is, Tim Hortons, my favorite in Canada, represent, and you're in line and you hear somebody from maybe Apple in line talking about, I don't know, next release of the iPhone and saying really good things about it, and the public doesn't know about that, if you go and buy that stock using that information, you can go to jail. Right. And it's actually kind of hard to it can be hard to prove it in court, but sometimes they record as well. And just anyway, if you have questions on insider trading, let me know. Okay. A lot of people in that vlog that Amanda mentioned, I talked about how I went to visit my friends in jail for insider trading, right? And how to stay out of trouble. Okay. And the reason that insider trading laws exist is because the government wants to protect you. It's not fair if the big rich mutual funds and hedge funds have access to information, but you don't, right? They try to level the playing field, right? So it's as much as I criticize governments, and I criticize governments a lot, I think it's the right thing to do by protecting us. Kind of like how they make big companies write these things before an IPO occurs to protect you. Okay, great. And let me just scroll down here. So Rafay, hey Rafay, how are you? Chris, I'm having difficulty in choosing which career to choose. Please give me advice. I'm unable to find my passion. When I try, there are a lot of things that came in my mind, which I like. Help. Okay, I love that question. Thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're given a month off and I tell you you're not allowed to travel, what would you do with your time? Okay. Go on a long walk and just meditate and think about that. And whatever it is you would do with your time, that's what I want you to think about pursuing, right? If it's logical to do so, right? You got to be passionate about it, because if you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself you're going to work, then God forbid, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, but you're doing it wrong. You got to find your passion. You got to find your raison d'être. Those are the only two words I know in French. You got to find what was the reason you were put on this earth. Okay. And it sucks to go to work every day and not like it, right? It's the worst thing that can happen to you. But if you're frustrated, I think that's a good thing. I'm glad if you're frustrated, because frustration leads to reinvention. It leads to breakthroughs. It leads to you finding your passion, your purpose, and then going after it. Okay. And Mark Twain had an amazing, amazing quote. Mark Twain was a famous poet here in the United States. And he said, the two most important days in your life are, number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. Okay. And it might take a while. And for me, it took until like my late 30s or maybe it was 40s. I can't remember, before I really realized that I love to teach because I like to help people. Right. And I don't have a job. I have a passion. And when my alarm goes off in the morning, if I get up before my alarm, I look at my clock, I get up. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to get up because I don't have a job. I have a passion, which is humbly trying to help other people. Right? I want you to look for that passion as well. And I want you to be incredibly resilient and never give up on your passion. Okay. And I'll give you a couple of great examples. So my kids have the Harry Potter books. I'm trying to get them to read it, but they want to play Fortnite instead, whatever. But the author of Harry Potter, this brilliant woman, she's amazing. She's so inspirational, J.K. Rowling. She was an assistant for years and she hated her job. And she was frustrated, which is a good thing. And she wrote her Harry Potter book, the first one, I think, and she sent it out to 20 or 30 publishers or editors, and every single one said no. But she was persistent. She kept going, and she took failure as a badge of honor, which you should as well, as nothing more than a tip to yourself to try again. Because with each failure, you get much closer to success, Rafe. It goes for everybody too. Just keep trying, keep failing, and don't care what other people think of you ever when it comes to failure. It's not shameful, man. It's a badge of honor, right? It's a badge of honor. And anybody that's ever been successful in business ever has failed more times than you and I combined. Michael Bloomberg, who is the mayor of New York, he started Bloomberg. He's a billionaire. He was fired by Merrill Lynch. Robert Redford, the actor, was fired from an oil company. Madonna was fired from working at Dunkin' Donuts, right? Big coffee shop. All these people. And if you've been fired from your job, don't be pissed about it, because you might look back years from now and think, God, that's the best thing ever happened to me, because it forced me to go down another path and find my true passion and purpose and love in life. So just keep looking, okay? And I promise you'll find it. Here's another way to think about it, okay? Who's a rock star to you in your life and business? Okay. Who is a rock star to you? Okay. And it might be Sir Richard Branson. It might be J.K. Rowling. Who do you admire? Okay. And by the way, those two people never went to university. I think they're high school dropouts. So education doesn't matter in terms of degrees, right? It's just how passionate, resilient you are, right? Who's a rock star to you in business? And once you decide who they are, maybe it's Sir Richard Branson, maybe it's somebody else. Then I want you to go to Google or YouTube, and I want you to search in YouTube for their biography. How did they get there? What did they do? What path did they take? And I want you to follow that path. Okay. And I love listening to Audible books from audible.com on very successful people. I love biographies because it's somebody else's blueprint for success. You can learn from them. Okay. So anyway, Rafe, I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up on that, please let me know. Okay. Again, if you have questions, please enter them here. Hold on one second. Next one I've got is from Marcus. Hi, Marcus. Marcus says, I use the Financial Times as my resource for investing. Is that a good resource? And what other research resources do you use when vetting companies to invest in? So I used to read the Financial Times every day. And for those of you that don't know, the Financial Times is kind of like the Wall Street Journal, but it's more global. Okay. And it's pink as well, the newspaper, for some reason. But I used to read it every day. And what I would say is, if you read that, you read the Wall Street Journal as well. It's good. Go online, read that. But I don't want you to read the editorials. Okay. I only want you to read factual stuff, right? Which will help you understand, like, how do interest rates work? How do stocks work? How do options work? What is GDP, that sort of thing. Those two resources are great for that. Don't read editorials, because I want you to come up with your own thoughts on stocks, because everybody is biased. In terms of other resources, I would say Yahoo Finance is good. Okay. And it's free. Okay. And I used to spend thousands of dollars every single month for myself and my employees, my analysts, on Bloomberg software to get financial information. And then I stopped doing it because I realized you can get all that information for free. Yes, for free, from Yahoo Finance. So go to finance.yahoo.com. Okay. And then, Marcus, what you can do is you create a portfolio there, and you can look at all the news releases, right? Press releases issued by the companies. Okay. In real time, the second they're released, by hitting refresh, if it's right after the market, for example, on Yahoo Finance. Okay. And I also want you to use government filings. Okay. So I want you to go, if you invest in American stocks, for example, and I can talk about international stocks too, but if you invest in American stocks, there's a website the government created called sec.gov. That's Securities and Exchange Commission.gov. And you can go on that website and read the S1 filings, or annual reports, which are called 10Ks, or quarterly reports, which are called 10Qs, or press releases, which are called 8Ks, for every single company on those exchanges, okay, on those stock markets, okay, meaning NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, et cetera. And every country has their own government website. You'll have to Google it. And read that stuff, please. Read all of it, because lawyers make these companies disclose all of their risks, right? I mean, it's a bad thing and a good thing that there's so many lawyers in this country, right? And so, for example, on the Facebook IPO, I own Facebook. I sold it the first day it went public. It crashed, whatever, and I bought it again later, and I have lost money in other stocks, but I did well in this one. But in here, one of the reasons I sold it was because I was reading through this, and it basically states that Facebook in 2012, when this company went public, did not have a mobile strategy. Do you remember in 2012, if you wanted to use Facebook on your iPhone or your Android handset, you had to go to a browser? It was ridiculous, right? And so anyway, that was a big gap in the business plan for the company. And of course, they fixed it, and they're great now on mobile, if you can trust them. I'm not going there. Another thing you can do is go to the websites of these companies, because they all have investor relations departments. And these investor relations departments, they have one purpose, which is to help you understand the fundamentals of that company so you can make an informed investment decision. Okay. And what happens is a lot of these companies will have webcasts, right? What's called an analyst day. And the big mutual funds and hedge funds will go to hotels and conference rooms, and I'll watch the CEO present and ask questions. You can watch that in real time as well, using the webcast. So just go to the investor relations portion of every company's website if you can. And you know what? If you have questions after you've done your research and read the materials, call them, because they're there to serve you. That's their job. They're there to help you. And if you want anything in life, you got to ask. Okay. Just call them. And I don't care if you don't work for a big company, just call them. They will help you. They will call you back. And if they don't, keep calling them until you get them live. Okay. All right. Thanks for hope that answered your question there. Or Marcus, pardon me. Sorry. Okay. Next one is from Andrea. Hi, Professor Chris. I attended 2 of your courses. I found them so insightful. Thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback. Thanks. That keeps me making these when I get positive feedback. Thank you. Okay. Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down. Type question if you have them here. I've got a bunch here. I'm just trying to find out where I was. I don't want to skip any. Okay. Okay. Jake says, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to do these videos. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate that. I love what I do. It's not a job. It's a passion. And I wasted way too much time, doing stuff I didn't like in life. And the cancer of Wall Street, where I used to work, is, everybody's depressed at Christmas bonus season because they compare themselves to those that make more. It's ridiculous. And the Dalai Lama had this great quote that, kind of changed my life. He said, the problem with Western society is that we sacrifice our health, our whole lives, in order to make money. And then at the end of our lives, we sacrifice all of our money in order to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realize we never really lived to begin with. And so for Rafay, you're looking for your passion. You mentioned, make sure it's not about money. Okay, and I know we all have to provide for our families, but please just if you chase money, you lose your dreams and money. If you chase your dreams, not only will they come true eventually, but you'll get money accidentally. Okay, and nobody that I know that's been incredibly successful has done it for the money. Right, a lot of these incredible entrepreneurs, they're passionate about it. They're just passionate about it. They do it because they love doing it. Like watch Sir Richard Branson. Watch an interview with Richard Branson. This guy loves what he does. He oozes passion. Okay, and so does everyone in his companies too. Like I flew Virgin America and Virgin Atlantic, and every employee there is just happy. It's just a great culture. Culture always comes from the founder. Okay. All right. Next up, I've got a question. Okay. Thanks, Tiger. Appreciate that. Thanks for that feedback. Next one's from Haroun. Hi, Chris. I've been drinking bulletproof coffee and really enjoying the effects. That's awesome. And I was wondering if you have any other tips for helping clarity and speed of thought, like brain games or meditation. What a great question. Thank you. So nutrition, it's aside from bulletproof, and I mentioned I create this greatest hits drink of mine. It's kale and a bunch of other stuff. Every Sunday, I create 7 of these, put them in the fridge, and I drink one of these per day. That helps. You are what you eat, I guess. And even people that believe in organic food, they say you are what you eat eats. So I do that. I do a lot of vitamins and herbs as well. I had my DNA sequenced. And found out that there's a high probability that I'm going to go blind or lose my eyesight in my 60s through what's called age-related macular degeneration. And so what I did was I went to my eye doctor, and my grandfather had that too, which is more than a coincidence. It's hereditary. And so I went to an eye doctor, and the eye doctor has me take this. My eyes are fine now, for now, but take this zinc pill here, right? It's organic as well. Which helps me as well because it'll nip it in the butt, right? So it's like that movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise. So remember when it was the pre-crimes division and they found out what crimes people are going to commit? It's kind of out there, but it's cool. With this whole DNA sequencing thing, you can find out what diseases you're going to get and be preemptive and nip them in the bud early on if you can. And that's what I do there. And then of course, I eat a lot. I drink a lot of water as well. I always carry water with me everywhere. That helps a lot when it comes to clarity and speed of thought. Also, another thing I do is if I start doing something, I'm not passionate, not into it, it will ruin it for me. So I leave and I come back to it later when I am in a passionate mood. Okay, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen a movie and you're in a crappy mood. It just wasn't that great. You know what I mean? So anyway, a little off topic there. Now, when it comes to brain games or meditation, I do some breathing exercises that I learned from Tony Robbins, which helps. And you can just Google, Tony Robbins breathing exercise if you want. But I walk a lot. Okay. And Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison is the founder of Oracle, big software company. What they do and what they did for Steve Jobs is they would go on long walks together or by themselves. And you come up with your best ideas and speed and clarity of thought, I think, when you're exercising, because motion creates emotion. And when you're walking or on the elliptical trainer at the gym, what happens is your brain is releasing endorphins and serotonin, right? And it's kind of like a way to kind of create, I don't know, like your own version of Prozac, whatever it is, or my own version, I should say. And it keeps me happy, and I can think a lot better too when I exercise. And if I don't exercise, I'm really torturing myself because I won't be happy and I won't be able to think as clearly. And I do a lot of walks when I come up with my courses. I write most of the content for my courses when I'm on walks, long walks, man. I'll put in my backpack a bunch of stuff in it, food, drinks, whatever, sunscreen. I'll go for like a 12-hour walk. And what I'll do is on my iPhone, I'll just take notes. I'll just kind of, hey Siri, notes, whatever. And it's all unstructured notes. So that's how I do it. Just make sure you get a lot of exercise. Nutrition is important, that sort of thing. And I'm touched that you're also taking the bulletproof coffee and enjoying the effects. That's great to hear. It's like Bradley Cooper in that movie Limitless. And for anybody else thinking of taking bulletproof, if you do it, there's something called MCT oil. Please make sure that you only put in a tiny drop or two initially of that oil when you start, because you have to build up a tolerance to it and you might get a stomachache, which I did early on. Okay. Okay, do your research as always, kind of like stocks. Okay, great. From Rafay, thank you very much, Chris. My source of information is Steve Jobs and Tim Cook. Awesome. Apple's my dream company. Hope you remember me. I am the one who had to disturb you a lot, and you never disturb me, Rafael. I love all questions from everybody. And Rafael, I love your icon there of the Apple logo. I love that. And it's so interesting. And if your job is to work at Apple, let's make it happen. Go to my website, harounventures.com, download my book for free called How to Network. Read it cover to cover, it's 200 pages. Set up informational meetings with people with something in common with you that work at Apple. Maybe they're from the same hometown as you. Maybe they went to the same school as you, and set up meetings with them. And I promise you, you will get a job there eventually if you're persistent enough. Okay. And when I used to teach at schools, I did Stanford, Berkeley, San Francisco State and stuff. What I would just, the first question I would ask my students on the first day is this. I would say, if I told you that if you set up 10 informational meetings using LinkedIn over the next 10 weeks, that I would guarantee you would get your dream job, would you do it? Every hand goes up. And then the last day of class, I asked, okay, remember the first day when I talked about informational meetings? How many of you did those 10 meetings? No hands go up. How many did 9? No hands go up. How many did 8? 1 or 2 hands go up. And those are the students that didn't get the best grades, but they get the best jobs. Okay, so just make sure that you're resilient and that you reach out to people and ask for help, because people want to help you. You just have to ask. And the beautiful thing is that most people don't ask, right? And when it comes to Apple, Steve Jobs, he when he was a kid, he picked up the phone, and you could use the phone back then. I wouldn't recommend it. Use LinkedIn only. But he picked up the phone. He called Bill Hewlett from Hewlett Packard, and he wanted to get a job. And Bill Hewlett hired him. And had he not had that guts to do that and ask at that age, we wouldn't be talking about Apple now. And then years later, this other kid reached out to Steve Jobs and said, hey, can you mentor me? Whatever it might be. And that kid was Mark Benioff, who's the founder of Salesforce.com, which is the largest company now in San Francisco. So just make sure that you ask a lot. And I love Apple. And that company really changed my life. And I'll explain why. When I was in the 6th grade and the 8th grade in Canada, they wanted to fail me. They thought I had a learning disability. Source my bulletproof coffee. They thought I had a learning disability, and they took me to this test center. It was called Chisholm in Oakville, Ontario. And I had to do all these tests, and it killed my confidence, man, right at that time, right? I was scared of public speaking and whatever. Eventually, I conquered my fear, which you should too, run to your fear. But then what happened was this. My parents are great. They realized why my grades were awful. And it was because I wasn't passionate about anything. I suck at everything in life, at stuff I'm not passionate about. I'm awful, right? And so what my dad did in the 8th grade was he bought a Mac, an iMac, not an iMac. It was called a Mac. I guess I have a Mac SE upstairs. I'll bring it and show you in one video. I still have it. And that changed my life because I started enjoying doing things. Like I kind of didn't mind creating reports for school, using, I don't know, Microsoft Word or whatever it was at the time, PageMaker or whatever. I kind of liked using Excel. It was kind of fun. And you'll notice that in a lot of my courses, especially the finance ones, I'll create these Excel dashboards. I do that because it's fun for me to create courses that way, because I love using computers. I can't just teach a course and not use technology at all. It's just, I don't know, it's fun for me. And even the whole editing process is fun for me as well. And so, just find your passion. And Rafay, you never disturb me. I know you wrote there, I'm the one who disturb you a lot, and you never disturb me, please. This is why I do it. Okay. All right. For DNA sequencing, I use a company that's no longer around. And you can also, years ago, I used something called 23andMe, where you can do kind of I don't think they allow you to do it anymore because the FDA kind of shut down that process. But what that could do, it would tell you what diseases you're going to get. There are companies out there like us. So just do a search. And speaking of Apple, before Steve Jobs died, he spent I think over $1 million on getting his DNA sequenced to find out how to cure whatever disease he had. And the price of that test now, I think, is under $100. Okay, so just do a search on, talk to your doctor first, obviously, and that sort of thing. Okay, next, Haroun, I've had online tests, and I found exercising has helped. In fact, as coincidental as it is, I just received an email that I passed KPMG's numerical test. So happy on the next stage. Ooh, I'm happy for you. That's awesome. Your success is my success. Makes me feel good. That's great. Congratulations. And in hindsight, like, I don't know if any of you are ever going to write another test again, but I want to give you a tip that will help you do much better. Okay, ready? When I took I took the GMAT years ago, and I took something called the Princeton Review, and I did really well in the GMAT, and that's saying a lot. I'm not smart, but it's just because I knew how to write the test. And there are certain tips you can learn for any test. And I got to the point where I could answer multiple choice questions right without reading the question. Here's how you do it. Okay. If you have a multiple choice question, when you read through the answers, if the word always or never is in the answer, you can eliminate those two immediately. If the word sometimes is in the answer, that's the right one. And I'll explain why. Okay. It works in almost all situations, because what happens is, you need to think like a lawyer. I can't stand lawyers, but think like a lawyer. I mean, there are good ones. The civil rights ones are cool. I like that. But when you think like a lawyer and you think contesting things, arguing with things, that friend of yours argues a lot with you. If the word always or never appears in the answer, a lawyer can contest that in court, because there are always exceptions. Okay, so think like a lawyer when you're answering multiple choice questions. And even in my earlier courses, I include a lot of quizzes. You could probably answer those questions without reading the question, just by knowing that whenever I have the word always or never, those are usually wrong. Okay. So, all right, let me move on now. But congratulations on passing that KPMG test. That's awesome. Okay, Marty, how are you, Marty? I'm just going to open the door. Give me a second. It's really hot in here with all these lights. All right, I'm back. All right, so Marty's got a question. Hi, Chris. I currently work in management consulting in the digital marketing space. I used to work at Accenture like you. I call it Accidenture. I'm just kidding. It's a good company. What's the best way to take what I know and turn it into a business? Marketing it's probably my biggest weak point. Okay. And you'll notice in my courses, I don't talk much about marketing, but I'm going to in my business plan course, because I was wrong. But when I went to business school, I thought I'm only going to take stuff that's not common sense, like accounting and finance, and marketing is just BS. Okay. And then what happened was, and this is back in 2000, and the emergence of new technologies created this new role, chief marketing officer or CMO at companies, right? And lead generation and how to get customers, right? There's a lot of technologies in that sector right now that will help you do that role much better. I'm not good at it though. I don't know. I'm being honest. I'm not good when it comes to turning that into a business. What I would probably advise is look at companies that have marketing products, go to sec.gov or whatever, or find publicly traded companies and read all about them. Okay, read about their products. Okay, and see if you can create a product as well that competes with their products. Right. So look at the competition. That's the best advice I have. I'm really not good at that. I'm so sorry, Marty. When it comes to marketing stuff, I'm learning. I'm doing a lot of work on social media now. You can tell I'm doing my vlogs daily. And I promise you, I'm going to do them every day for the next 10 years. And I'm learning it. And I'm trying to partner with somebody. I usually don't teach co-courses, right? But I'm trying to, there's somebody very famous in the media that I might be teaching a marketing tech course with, because when one teaches, two learn. Okay. So that's my honest answer. Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay. Oh, I love all those icons, Rich. Thank you. That's cool, man. That's dope, as my kids would say. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, Rich. Okay. Thanks, Brandon, fellow Canadian, represent. I should be drinking Tim Hortons. Sorry, but I am drinking Bulletproof. Okay. And then just, if you have questions, please type them here. So question here from just another Joe. Speaking of drinking Joe. Hey, Chris, took your Udemy course. Glad to see you on YouTube. How do I break away from the family business? That's a tough one. I have a different view of where my company should be going. Should I start my own company? God, that's a tough question. That's a great question, though. I've never had that one before. God, it's hard, man. It's tough. It's tough. I just watched on HBO. There's a great show called Succession, which is the complete opposite of probably what you're going through. It's modeled after Richard Murdoch, I think, in Fox News or Fox, whatever, on family business. It's hard, man. I don't know. It's tough because it gets political too with family. It's hard. My brother works for my dad. My dad has a big medical practice in Canada, and my dad just sold theirs in the process of selling it. And I found that, at dinner sometimes they talk about it, and I guess they bonded that way. Maybe I felt a little bit left out. But the only way to be in complete control of your destiny, right, is to start your own company. And if you disagree with your family members, kind of think of it like they're business partners. Then if you're frustrated, that's not a bad thing, because frustrating again leads to reinvention, right? Maybe you'll start your own company. Okay, maybe you'll start a similar company, and maybe not compete with them, might be kind of weird, but do it your way. That's the only way to live your life on your terms, is to do your own thing. And I never swear, and I'm going to swear now. I'm so sorry, but there's nothing worse than working for other people and having that feeling that you're someone else's bitch. And that's not family and stuff, but just in general. And I was so frustrated working with and for other people for years. And I learned so much from working for other people, not just what to do, but what not to do. And I was so frustrated for years. And I started so many companies on the side. A lot of them failed, and finally a couple of them worked out, whatever. And you only have to be right in business once. So for those of you that are working for other people and you're not happy, just be mentally there at that company 70% of the time, right? Which is enough for you to make quota or do your job. And I want you to think 30% on the side doing your own company. Okay. And keep launching these companies. It doesn't cost any money to launch a company now. Okay. The barriers have all been reduced because of the internet. It doesn't matter what country you're in, right? You can start a company for free and keep starting these companies. Keep starting them until something works. And I remember, and I won't mention which company this was at, but many years ago, when I worked for somebody else, I during lunch hour and during dinner, and they made me stay really late. It was stupid. I hated FaceTime. What I did, I was like, fine, screw it. This is ridiculous. I brought my laptop to work, and then I had it was a wireless hotspot, right? It's before the days of personal hotspot, and I'd work on my business model at my desk. That's what I would do. Right. Only because the hours were long and it was FaceTime. So anyway, just I want you to I want you to always think of starting your own company. Right. And I don't think that we were genetically programmed or made to answer to other people. Right. It's just not healthy. And I feel like when you work for other people, you're not yourself. Or at least I'm not myself. And I see my kids and pardon me, they're themselves. They say whatever they want on their mind. And I remember when I went to university and then I started working at Accenture, I was very political and I was careful what I said. If I got into an elevator with a senior manager, I would think, God, what do I say? Beautiful day today, isn't it, sir? That sort of thing. So basically, what I did was I started a lot of companies on the side, and it really hit home for me when I went to a corporate picnic, which is basically forced family fun. And I was in the car, and Andrew was younger. He was in the back seat. And I can't remember if we had Matthew yet. And I remember telling Andrew that my boss is going to be there, so please be on your best behavior. It just felt kind of shitty. I felt like I was giving away my pride. And I don't know. I wasn't myself. And then, when you start your own company, you kind of have the freedom to be you. Okay. And so whether it's a family business you're working at or a partnership or working for other people, I want you to always just think on the side. And maybe if you're at work, during lunch hour, during the evenings, whatever, just starting your own company, go on walks, think about starting your own company. Anybody can do it, right? Especially today, there are no barriers. You don't have to be in any country, specific country, right? Just keep thinking and go to Fiverr.com. That's 5 with 2 R's. That's Fiverr.com, and kind of look through what people are doing, what they're doing on the side. A lot of people have side jobs, right? Side hustles, they call it. And they'll create logos for people or presentation or whatever. Go there, see if you can do stuff there as well. It's just kind of a way to kickstart and make money on the side and a way to find your passion. Okay. I lost a couple viewers there with that long-winded answer. Sorry. It's real-time feedback. Just kidding. All right. What time we got? Oh, it's 9:30. Oh my God, we've been talking for an hour and a half. God, I talk a lot, don't I? All right, let's see what's next here. All right. Okay, Marty, that's your strong suit is marketing. Awesome. Awesome. Embrace it. And Marty, if you enjoy that sector, marketing, then do it. Make sure you love what you do. Right. It's easier to sell something you love. Okay. And I got another question from around here. Not really work related, but do you watch Billions? I do watch it, and it is incredibly realistic. For those of you that aren't in the United States, Billions, I'm sure you can stream it online. It's got the guy from that show Homeland, right? Brody, who's British, by the way, and he's this hedge fund billionaire, and he has this mansion in Connecticut, and he works in New York City and all that stuff. And Paul Giamatti's in it as well, and he's the district attorney. It's a great show, and it's realistic, very realistic, and the characters in that show, I know for a fact, are modeled after certain people I know in the hedge fund industry. Okay, the good and bad character traits. It is incredibly realistic. Okay, incredibly realistic. Everything they say, like there's one scene where Brody or Axe is talking about how to approach venture capital investments. He's talking with his wife, and he was a jerk about it with his wife. But what he said is exactly how the real world analyzes venture capital investments. You know, when they pick stocks, it's realistic. When somebody pitches Apple as a long idea and Axe rolls his eyes, that's realistic. You don't pitch stocks in hedge funds everyone else owns, right? That sort of thing. They talked about August of 2007 when all the big technology trading platforms had their worst month ever. That was realistic. I lived that. Like they really, really researched it. And I think that office was actually modeled after SAC, which was a big hedge fund, which the government shut down because it was a criminal institution. A lot of insider info there, but that he is modeled the whole setup of that office is kind of modeled after SAC, which was the biggest hedge fund for years. And I remember when I went to SAC to interview, oh God, it was awful. I walked in and I had to, and all these rich people or billionaires, whatever, they love art. And I had to walk through a shark that was cut into pieces. You ever seen art like that to get in? And it was awful feeling, but that office, everything about it, having the shrink on site, that's what the big hedge funds do. And hedge funds I worked at had a psychiatrist on site to make sure that we all got along and all that stuff. It is so realistic. Okay. The insider information stuff is real as well. In 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, a lot of hedge funds got away with murder. What these hedge funds did was they hired actors to line up at banks in New York City. Okay. And they were short these banks. They made money on these banks when the banks went down in price. Right. Anyway, the Billions, I do enjoy it a lot. It's very realistic. It brings back bad memories too for me of just how many unethical people work in that industry. And there are good people in that industry as well. But just everything about it, even the way they treat the trader, how the trader's intellect is different. It's just everything about it is realistic. So I do watch that show. I enjoy it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, wow. Marcus wrote, I love Succession. Great and funny show. Yeah. And for those of you in a family business, you should watch it. You'll get a kick out of it. It's out there though, but I love it. Okay. So Brandon has a question. What career advice would you give your kids? And it's so interesting you say that, Brandon, because when I make these courses in some of these videos, sometimes I think to myself, okay, I'm teaching my kids many years in the future when they're older. You know, it's kind of like a digital, I don't know, diary thing, right? And I feel bad because I swear it earlier. If my kids watch that, I'm sorry. But the advice I give my kids is different than the advice that most of us got. And you know, a lot of people, your parents are like, I want you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, and I think that's wrong. And I know that our parents, all of our parents have great intentions, but unless you love, you know, being a doctor and helping other people, I don't know why you would love to be a lawyer. The advice I give my kids is do what you're passionate about. Okay. And my kids will, like one of my kids, the youngest one wants to be a vlogger. And at first I was going to say, that's crazy. But I'm like, you know what, dude? I think a lot of vloggers are going to have great careers off that longer term. You know, I don't do it for money. I do it because I love doing it. But I let them follow their passion, whatever they're good at. And I compliment them a lot on what they're good at. And I think the role of a parent is to boost the confidence of their children. Okay. So that when they grow up, I hope they never do. I love them so much. But when they grow up, they have the confidence to do what they want to do and love doing. Right. And I encourage failure with them as well. And I start a lot of companies with them. We'll start it together. And I explain business to them as well through video games like Clash of Clans. I was explaining, when you get gems, that's kind of like raising capital. When you put up walls, those are barriers to entry. That sort of thing. Anyway, it's kind of fun. And SimCity, I taught one of my kids all about business by playing SimCity, which was one of my first and favorite video games. I played the Mac in black and white in the 80s. I'm dating myself. So the biggest advice is just for my kids, just do what makes you happy. Why would you want to spend the rest of your life living someone else's life? And there's a lot of people that graduate from medical school and they're depressed, or law school and they're depressed. Who's happy as a lawyer, unless you're a civil rights lawyer? So the advice I give my kids is just to be confident, be respectful, obviously, be well-rounded. I'm trying to get them off of Fortnite. It's so hard, man. We have a rule now, no Fortnite during the weeks, except if we play together as a family. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff on advice that I give my kids, career-wise. Follow your heart, find your passion, because a lot of us, we don't find our passion until we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. If you find it earlier in life, you'll just be much happier and you'll live much longer too. Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay, great. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Looks like there's not that many left. I've got a follow up here on billions. It's realistic. Oh my God, didn't know that. The question here, do you feel the hedge fund industry is shifting towards more computer generated ideas and short-term focus? Okay. And you have a follow up. So let me answer the first one first. Yes, computers are playing a bigger part. Okay. And so I think that computers will replace entirely the role of the sales trader. Or the trader, right? And there will be some proprietary traders that are really good at what they do that will make money always. But I think that computers are better at finding pattern recognition than humans are, right? And so I think that computers are definitely going to play a much bigger role when it comes to artificial intelligence-based algorithms and trading as well. Absolutely. And there are some funds that make so much money. Right? They make 50 or 60% every year using computers and proprietary programs. They won't tell anyone what's in those algorithms. Those algorithms have a bunch of inputs, they analyze data and then find outputs. And sometimes they will trade on technicals, right? They'll look at support and resistance in the charts or the relative strength index, 52-week high, low, gaps in the charts and that sort of thing. If you're interested in technicals, I put a vlog out on technicals a couple days ago, just search for that. So I think that yes, computers and artificial intelligence will play a much bigger role when it comes to investing in the long run. So I don't recommend choosing to be a trader. It's just my humble opinion, unless you're really passionate about it and better than I am. And I'm not very good at short-term investing because I don't think it works. You get fooled by randomness. Okay. So the next question is there going to be room for long-term investments? Always. Since the beginning of time, since the beginning of investing, people that have had long-term outlooks do extraordinarily well. Like Warren Buffett had that famous quote. He said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. And, it's ludicrous how short-term focused people are. And, Warren Buffett said that the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Think about that, right? It's amazing. And if you're long-term focused, you'll be a better investor. I promise you. And in my courses, I preach that as well. I create templates for you to fill out, these long-term focused templates. I include sections on technicals as well, but you'll notice way at the bottom, right? Way at the bottom, like my cryptocurrency course, the very last thing we look at in the 49-step process, research process, is technical analysis of charts. Okay. But Warren Buffett, when he invests in a stock, he literally says, I invest in a stock with the understanding that the stock market might be closed for 10 years. And one of the best analysts that ever worked for me, a great guy named Jason. This guy's brilliant. I learned so much from him. I learned from my students. I learned from people that work with me. Jason said, Chris, when he was pitching a stock to me, I don't know the path, but I know the destination. right? So just focus on the destination, be long-term focused. If you create financial models, I don't want you to give a damn about what the price earnings multiple is this year or next year. I want you to think about the price earnings multiple in 5 years based on your financial model. And this will help you stomach volatility and avoid doing crazy things that only rookies do, like shorting Amazon in an up market. Okay. It's a widow maker. I want you to think 5, 10 years out and analyze companies based on those metrics, because companies that you love, might be worth only 3 or 4 times earnings in 5 years versus 100 times this year. Right. And a lot of people don't get it, especially when they invest in technology stocks. You don't look at valuation first, you look at fundamentals first. And if you want to look at valuation, you look 5, 10 years out. Okay. Always do that. Always, always, always think longer term. And thinking longer term has helped me make a lot of money in the retail sector as well. Sorry, I want to be humble about stuff, but not with this one. Sorry. If you go watch a vlog I did a couple of days ago, I mentioned Chipotle and McDonald's. I talk about how I invest in the retail sector. And the reason I invested in Chipotle years ago, I don't own it anymore, but I did well on it. And everyone else was saying, you're crazy, it's expensive. The reason I made money on it was because I thought of Chipotle as being, and Chipotle, for those of you who don't know, is a big Mexican fast food restaurant chain, good food, in the United States, in Canada, and London now, and other countries. But when I first invested, it was just the United States. And Chipotle was actually owned by McDonald's. And McDonald's spun it off into a separate holding company to, enhance shareholder value. And what I did was I thought to myself, well, Chipotle is like McDonald's, but it's better because McDonald's has there's a lot of hamburger places in the world that compete with them, but there's not many Mexican places that have great franchises globally. I mean, there's Taco Bell, which is awful food, right? Tastes good though. And so what I did was I called McDonald's investor relations. Okay, Rafe, this is for you. I called it investor relations, and in Chicago at the time. And I asked them to send me all their annual reports from the 70s and 80s and 60s, right? And the ones that were digital, I can get online at sec.gov. And what I did was I thought to myself that Chipotle is kind of where McDonald's was in 1967, okay, in terms of the number of stores that were open. And I'm sure McDonald's stock was expensive back then. And I thought, oh my God, would I have invested in McDonald's in the 1960s? Hell yeah, of course I would. So that's how I thought about it. I thought, okay, there's a great growth projection for it. Yeah, it looks expensive on this year's earnings and next year's earnings, but in 5 years, it's cheap on my earnings, right? And I thought longer term, right? And I thought, okay, there's a great opportunity for Chipotle to open in Toronto, which it did eventually, in London, which it did eventually, and which it will in many countries, right? I think it's a great long-term investment. And if I just looked at valuation on this year's earnings, I would have never invested. So the bottom line, just to answer your questions, you got to be really long-term focused when you invest. The longer the view, the wiser the intention, and that will help you stomach the volatility, and you won't panic when a stock goes down. And a lot of people sell stocks when they go down, which I did for years too, before I became less emotional about stocks, right? And when I start buying a stock, I want it to go down, okay, so I can put on a full position. Okay. And I'm not a tourist in these stocks. I'm not a renter. I'm a long-term owner. I feel like a partner with the management team, whatever. I'm a long-term owner. And I think longer term. And because of that, it'll make you be a much better investor. And that's why I left the hedge fund industry. It's too short-term focused. And I did the opposite, which is I went into the venture capital sector, which is long-term focused and a much better way to invest. Always think longer term. And I promise you, you will do much better and you will not panic when everybody else is. You got to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. And the best time to buy a stock, and I hate to use this analogy, is people say when there's blood in the streets, when everyone else is panicking, right? Just do the opposite. Because if you buy a stock that everybody else already owns, who's the incremental buyer? There are none, or not many at least. Okay. All right, let me see here. How are we doing on time? Let me check here. We got 9 more minutes, so please enter your questions if you haven't already. Okay, let me scroll up. Oh, there's a lot of questions here. Okay, I'll go through it fast. Okay, so I've got a question. If I had $10,000, is that 10,000 or 100,000? Can't see. Okay, if I had $10,000 in savings that I'm not going to use for the next 5 years, what will you do with it? Okay, so I really appreciate that question. I don't give individual advice on stocks or investments because I want to empower you to do your own research. Okay. And I don't ever want you to take any investing advice on which stocks to pick from anybody on TV either, because they're all biased. Everyone has a bias. I want you to do your own research. And I want you to start by asking yourself this question. In 5 years, is this company going to be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? Okay. And that will help you, maybe buy Google and not Yahoo in hindsight, right? I mean, in 5 years, are people going to use more Yahoo to search? In 5 years, are people going to use BlackBerry Research and Motion? Sorry, Canada. Or people going to use BlackBerries more or less? That sort of thing, okay? I want you to start high level, okay? And then what I want you to do is I want you to create at least a one-page report, which I explain in my courses, whatever, using the template I'll provide here in the description field, so you don't have to buy the course. And fill out that template. And if you fill out the entire template, which analyzes first the fundamentals, second the valuation, and then technical sort of, but not really. Once you fill out that whole sheet, one pager, if you're happy with what you filled out and you're confident in your research, then buy the stock. And then a year from now, if you still own the stock, and if you learn something new about the company, and you're not sure if you want to sell the stock, then you ask yourself one question, which is this. If I knew about that one data point that just emerged, this new piece of information, when I had bought the stock, or when I was doing research to buy the stock, when I was creating that one-page report, would I still have bought the stock? And if the answer is no, then consider selling. Okay, so I want to empower you to do research on it yourself, so that you don't rely on other people, because there are so many unethical people in finance and cryptocurrencies in every sector. Okay. And if you've already bought a stock, then I like to say use buy-in homework. Do the homework. Okay. And I've got a question. Let me just go from the bottom up. I'm so sorry if I'm not answering all these questions. Do you think investment banks will use AI and stop hiring investment managers and traders? No, I think they'll stop hiring traders. Yes, some traders, but not investment managers. Yeah. Because I don't think computers yet will be able to replace our long-term outlook on a company. Right. And there's so many qualitative things. If it was all quantitative stuff when you analyze stocks, like all numbers and financial statements, then yes. But there's qualitative things too, like, do I like this manager? That sort of thing. Okay. All right. And have you tried the product? And make sure you try the product. Any stock you buy, I want you to try the product first. Okay. If you can. Okay. Let me see what else I've got here. Greetings, Chris. What are your thoughts on the Dale Carnegie course and its expensive price? I love this question because I took the Dale Carnegie course and I love it. And Warren Buffett, there's a great documentary on Warren Buffett on HBO. If you have HBO, watch it. If you don't, find a way to stream it online. I'm not going there. But what Warren Buffett has on his wall in his office is not his master's or business degree from Columbia University. He's got a diploma he got from taking the certificate of completion from taking the Dale Carnegie course. And if you don't learn how to speak in public and feel comfortable with yourself and not care what people think about you, which I don't anymore. I used to be insecure, right? If you're having problems with public speaking, take that course. Okay. Take the Dale Carnegie. I've got a public speaking course as well, but the only problem with it, to be intellectually honest, is that you don't practice in front of people in my course. So instead, take the Dale Carnegie course. Okay. I know it's expensive, but it's probably a lot less money than you'll spend on education in your lifetime. And I promise you, it'll be a great investment for you, because the ability to speak in front of people is a skill set that's not taught in business, but it is a crucially important skill set that should be taught in business. So I would do whatever it takes to take that Dale Carnegie course. See it as an investment in yourself, which is the best investment you can ever make. Okay. All right. Let me see what any more questions here. Hold on, let me do a time check. Okay. 4 more minutes. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Any advice or insight from an aspiring CFP? And I think that means a certified financial planner. If I'm wrong, type. Correct me if I'm not. You don't have to type. So certified financial planner. You're going to be managing other people's money. I would recommend taking a CFA as well. Okay, it's much better than an MBA, and it will really give you way more information on how to manage other people's money. And the problem with finance education in general is they don't really teach us much about bonds, right? And it's my fault too. I spent a lot of time teaching about stocks, but the CFA, which takes 3 years to do, it's a big investment in your time as well, but it's worthwhile. The CFA will teach you about many different types of asset classes as well. And if you're managing a family office, which I think what a CFP is, you're going to want a diversified portfolio, not just stocks. You want real estate, bonds, precious minerals, that sort of thing. Okay, so next one is this from Brandon. Do we really need I think college degrees these days? I have a lot of friends who are strapped with large student debt, and it'll take years to pay off. I kind of think that my children might be the last generation that feels like they have to go to college. And I think what's going to happen is I think it's going to be harder to get into the great schools that I got rejected from, like Harvard and Stanford, Harvard Business School, HBS, 2/3 of which is BS. I know I use that joke a lot, but it's dad humor, whatever. But I think it's going to get harder to get into the great schools and easier to get into the not great schools because not as many people are going to go. And the problem with universities is they don't teach you stuff you can use in real life. Like they don't, if you want to be a doctor, obviously you have to go to university, but they don't teach you how to manage your personal money. Even MBA schools don't, right? They don't teach you about a mortgage. You got to call your dad or your aunt or uncle or friends. What's this mortgage? How does this work? They don't teach you how to present. They don't teach you how to get customers. They don't teach you how to get a job or how to interview. That's why you go there. And there's 13 hours of class a week, and a lot of it is BS. You learn about calculus, which you never really use. Maybe you do. I don't think you do. You learn about economic supply and demand graphs. When have you ever created one of those in real life? So I think that if you want, let me talk about business school first, and I'll answer undergrad. Okay. If you've already done undergrad and you're thinking about going to business school, watch my vlog on Do You Need an MBA? Because that will answer it for you, right? And the bottom line there is only do an MBA if you can't get the job you want by networking, okay? Because MBA can help you get into that new role. But I want you to network like crazy first, okay? I think you can network enough and get that job instead of going to business school. Okay. Now, when it comes to undergraduate school, and this is controversial for me to say so, but if you've already found your passion and you started a great company in high school, and anybody can do it at any age, right? Or you're in your low 20s, whatever. I don't think you need to do it unless you, I don't know. One thing about university I kind of liked was I kind of learned how to be a little bit more social, right? And I grew up a bit too, that sort of thing. If you don't go to university and live in the dorm rooms, then maybe when you move out of your parents' house, live with a bunch of other people as well. It kind of has that university type feel to it. But I think that the biggest skills you can learn online, a lot of them, right? Or most of them, at least, I should say. So it's a toss-up. You got to think of a gap analysis. Here's where you are in your life now. Here's where you want to be. Filling that gap. Can you fill it without getting an expensive education? If the answer is yes, then I don't know if you need that expensive education, but it's a tough decision. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, great. Let's see here. Got a question. Do you think more jobs will go away due to AI? And government will start universal pay to its students. I don't know if I go that far. Some more left-wing governments might think that way longer term, but I'm definitely much more of an extreme capitalist, not extreme, but yeah. And if I didn't answer that question right, just please let me know. Okay, let me just do a quick time check. I got another. Oh, looks like time is up here. So. I want to wrap it up by saying thank you. If I didn't answer your question, I'm so sorry. Again, what I'll do is I'm going to type in a nice outline so you can click and go directly to parts in this entire webcast. You just look at the description field. Give me a couple hours to fill it out. And any resource I mentioned as well, links to whatever it might be I mentioned, I'll put in the description field as well. So you can click and go to my website if you want to. If you haven't subscribed to my my YouTube vlog, if you want to, whatever, please do so. Thank you for your time. And if you have any other questions that I didn't answer, just please save them for next week. Sorry about the background noise there. Thank you. Have a good week. Thanks.